Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege today to be bringing you a live match from the return of the King, Mystery Meat. He's going up against Dead Infested in our opening match here for the Tyrant's Tale Open Qualifier. We're going to be going to Cold Sweat for map number 1. Map number 2 will be Oblivion, selected by Mystery Meat, as Dead Infested is the higher seed due to Mystery Meat's inactivity. Then we come into the decider. If we need it, it will be Genesis Y. And now let's see if we are ready. It looks like we are, so let's get into it. This is a live match, it should be noted, not from replays or anything. But, of course, I am cataloging those replays if need be. Cold Sweat, a map by Veek7, pretty new, pretty interesting, I would say. There's must be a reason Dead Infested has selected this particular map. And, no. I'll bring you up to speed on the pick ban here, since Mystery Meat is asking. But first, let's obviously talk about the colors. I'm going to guess this one is Bedazzled Blue, but it's Dark Sapphire. That one gets me every time. And this one looks to me like Magma. It is. Okay, Mystery Meat, Magma Meat, classic move. So Cold Sweat, a map that has the bases in the corners here with the neutral hatch, the crucible, etc. Very interesting idea. I'm not sure that it's gone over too well with people, but obviously might as well test some things out. And, you know, the map's layout itself looks like it should be okay for, you know, broad, large armies and such. We'll see if we actually get there. It doesn't really look like the third base is particularly safe, nor the fourth if you're going to take the 6 o'clock or 12 o'clock positions as your third, but we'll see how it plays out. I actually haven't seen too many games on it just yet. Another brand new map that will be featured, not in this series as it was banned by Dead Infested, is Rage Slave, a 3-spawn map, an adaptation that I did of Neo Rush Hour as requested by Hit 'em Up. And it seems like it's giving us a very different look into games, so it's interesting stuff. But as Mystery Meat opens with Bio versus Protoss, something that we don't see too often, we will be talking a little bit about that pick and ban, as I had mentioned. We had, again, Rage Slave is the first ban here for Dead Infested, who is going to be going for a double gate intro. Interesting. He might have been taking a page out of Arbuz Budesh's book. I did direct him towards the matches that were played in the Fraud of July tournament that Mystery Meat went. And yes, Dead Infested has banned Rage Slave. Must be a reason behind that. Maybe not really comfortable on the map, as it's a little bit more about early action, a little bit more, you know, hop and a skip away from your opponent, and there's not that much of a rush distance or anything. The scouting scribe will be taken out. Not really scouting if there's an additional production structure, and this star pad was indeed hidden. So I guess Mystery Meat going to be going for the drop style. Now, that does leave you very vulnerable in the early stages of the game, so I would not be surprised if this ends up being kind of a wild opener here. Mystery Meat decided to ban Paradise for his map first ban, and as I mentioned before, he will be selecting Oblivion for map number 2. We're guaranteed that, no matter which way the series goes. And then after that, we had, I know that Mystery Meat's second ban was Blackwater Bastion, and I know that Dead Infested's second ban was Impetus. So there you have it there, pulled out from memory. We managed to make it happen. I do have it on the other monitor, but I'm busy looking at this game trying to understand what's happening, because the 3-gate is here and scouted. Will be a Dracoden opener. This is kind of interesting, because this is not something that Arbuz went for when he was doing it, right? But we see the Ecclesiast. We see not that many resources here for Dead Infested to be able to keep this uptime going, so he is going to have to pivot into Mass Ecclesiast if he wants to really make those resources work. Does already have one out, second one just finished, adding more Dracodens. Curious, he's going for Ecclesiast Dracodon, normally something that I would say doesn't have a great synergy with itself, but you know what, we'll see how it goes. Wraith already on the way here, I suppose, is a bit of an early scout. It's actually a second star pad, so Mystery Meat wants to go for the Wraiths, is adding an anchor at the home base. If it had been Ecclesiast Zealot, which now we're starting to see some Zealots pop in, I actually think that Mystery Meat could just get sort of caved in here at the ramp. It doesn't really matter how many anchors you have up here, within reason, of course, but like if you even 2-3 anchors, you can pretty easily dismantle with, say, 5-6 Zealots and the same number of Ecclesiasts, especially if you're going to incorporate those Dracodens. Now, there is no static defense here for Dead Infested. He's keeping his money low on the 3-gate opener, which is definitely very taxing for your economy. Worker counts have been made even. Mystery Meat not going for a quarry just yet. Wants to, you know, get a lot of power in the 2-pad Wraith move. And we'll see what Dead Infested wants to do with that, because I think if you drop a not just a Warden, but also a Matrix, you can really insulate yourself versus light armor sort of light attacks like the Wraiths and such. Now, they are on an intercept course as Dead Infested's considerable ground force is starting to move out into the middle of the map. Will Mystery Meat cross paths with it? I think just narrowly they will escape each other's vision, right? We did see Mystery Meat check on his Wraith, so maybe he is aware of something, but if he is, he hasn't really figured it out, and Dead Infested definitely is not aware. This kind of force could be picked apart by the 4 Wraiths, but not before a little bit of bruising happens, and Mystery Meat kind of wants to dedicate that to the sort of a force up there. If he can hold this with his minimal forces, he does have an Anseal out, maybe that can be enough. We already have all of the gas workers starting to evaporate. Dead Infested needs to be able to keep things together, but his Zealots are just absolutely annihilating everything over here. Charging forward to make sure his Ecclesiasts benefit from the shields. The Wraiths are wreaking havoc on the mineral line, admittedly, but there just isn't anything left here for Mystery Meat, already losing all of his military forces, and there are more Protoss units coming on in. All he needs to do is use these Draconans and the Ecclesiast to take out the Wraiths, and Dead Infested will score his first win. I really don't see how much Mystery Meat can really do in this situation, losing out on one of the Wraiths already on the retreat. Sure, Dead Infested has lost the bulk of his workers, in fact, all of his workers, but he doesn't really need the workers, does he? Because Mystery Meat is not mining. He's producing 2 Wraiths and a Hurakan. Ahmed will not be his savior, and Dead Infested's 2-gate, 3-gate style, that opener has done plenty of damage as the one wounded Zealot is entertaining the Masons, but I don't think Mystery Meat can handle this. I think he went for an interesting strategy. I thought it was going to be drops, but the Wraith play, I feel like, is a bit of an anachronism in this play, and Dead Infested, he studied up. He smells blood in the water. He doesn't need workers. He doesn't need workers to do battle. He doesn't have battle workers. He's got battle units, and you know what? He does have to be a little bit careful about making sure to snipe down those Wraiths, but it looks like he's going to be able to do it, and that will essentially conclude this opening match down to the last straw. But Dead Infested opens up and draws first blood in the series. That's the kind of thing that I can't believe Dead Infested has done it in some ways, even though I did seed him above Mystery Meat in the tournament. I really, really did see Mystery Meat start to grind up and do more. And so the fact that we are now going to Oblivion for map number 2 with Dead Infested up 1-0, whew, let's just say that's some spicy results. That's some spicy results. Of course, I have to type it in the silly, silly way that, silly way that he's done that. But it is best of 3, so if Dead Infested can do it again, on Oblivion no less, then Mystery Meat will be sent down to the lower bracket, a place where I don't think too many people thought he would go. But here we are, Mystery Meat in the top left, as the, I'm going to call this one, it's not regular orange, but I'll just call it orange. And it is orange, of course it is. And Dead Infested in the bottom right, he's not quite periwinkle. Oh man, what color is this? This is like Maya blue? Ah, I'm so good. Redemption. Dead Infested is busy typing GLHF, too busy to order his worker in the early game. He's like, I can't believe it. I'm up a game. I beat Mystery Meat. He just has to do it again. Can you prove it wasn't a fluke? I don't think Mystery Meat will be trying the Wraith play in this match. I do think that one of the things I observed, I was actually watching, shout out to Balethal and Zopes, as well as Sipiak, who were playing yesterday, and it was kind of like a light version of Fraudarchy. Usually on Saturdays, we gather together to play some of the matches, and some of the tournament matches were played, this open qualifier match. It looks like it will be Mech here for Mystery Meat, waiting. No, he's going for the Stockade. What is the fast gas for, then? I wonder what his antics are here. I have seen Hit 'em Up do some, or I've heard that Hit 'em Up has done some very interesting things with Bio versus Protoss. I have not seen that in action yet, so that is kind of an interesting little narrative bubbling away at the surface. However, Zopes was doing a lot with Bio versus Sipiak's Protoss, who she was practicing toss a little bit, and then Balethal showed that with a little bit of 3-gate into Nexus into 4th gate, you can just build up a composition that if the Terran doesn't get a lot of actual firepower, they really cannot crack it. Looks like that early Vespene was for the Quarry, so his Stockade will be late as a result, but it shouldn't be too consequential because, again, this is a composition with a 3-gate opener, if that is what Dead Infested wants to do, and it looks like it is, that, you can kind of rinse and repeat and just keep it going, and it looks like it's really, really strong. And, I think what Mystery Meat had in the last game was a lot of technical units, a lot of support units. He had the Anseal, he had the Wraiths. He obviously was able to harass And he had a couple of Hurricanes as well for damage sponging and for armor rending, but he really didn't have much firepower, right? I think he had 8 Mavericks total. They were in anchors, which means, sure, they're protected from damage for a little bit, but they weren't stimmed, so they didn't have a lot of their DPS active. That's another thing that definitely made a bit of a difference in that gunfight. And now, a second Stockade much faster than before, with the Quarry, kind of signals to those who are paying attention that Mystery Meat is going for the long macro game here, at least a little bit longer of a ramp-up time. He doesn't want to spend as much on that harassment. It didn't seem to do him any favors. I mean, it did wipe Dead Infested's worker count, but as we saw demonstrated by that match, you don't really need to worry too much about that if you just don't end up losing. Now, that Mason came up. I don't know if it actually saw the 3rd gate, but coming in a little bit more, definitely going to see that it is indeed a 3-gate opener. Zealot will chase that Mason to the ends of the earth because it's not being micro and stutter step now. A little bit more coming out of Dead Infested to try to put that Mason down, but the Ecclesiast is here too, so it's disbarred from exiting, so that's pretty much it. Now, we do have a bunch of Hurricanes and Mavericks being produced here. A Cyprian as well being queued up. 2 Cyprians. So that's interesting, right? It does obviously drain the coffers a little bit here. So the worker production had to be cut a little bit for that so that Mystery Meat can feel safe. But if you get enough Cyprians and enough Hurricanes, it does kind of thwart this Zealot Ecclesiast combo. Since the Hurricanes will burn the armor, and then the Cyprians will penetrate everything and deal a lot of splash damage. So it is an option. Now, I think another thing that is maybe underrated, although Mystery Meat did apparently practice earlier today versus Hit 'em Up and maybe Hamster as well. I'm not 100% sure. I saw that they were all playing together. Maybe Smarty was involved as well. And one of the things that was being done apparently was the usage of Eidolons. I saw Mystery Meat talking about them. So I do think that Mystery Meat is aware of that unit. It does have a place in TVP if you are going to go bio. We have a Vestry add-on already coming. Zopes plays a style that does have a lot of very fast cleric usage, and it does turn the tide. It's surprisingly effective. Scouting Maverick going to come out here and see if it can man the anchors in the middle, or perhaps just stand guard and watch as the entourage starts to leave the house here. Dead Infested going to be rallying units still to his own base. He's not actually sending them out. The Maverick is going to get caught, but that will tip Mystery Meat off that the attack is coming. So, this is kind of like, those AI attacks that would, in Starcraft 1, that would get a bunch of bad players by building 12 Zealots and A-moving. That's the kind of thing that is kind of like the same energy from Dead Infested, just doing the 3-gate, pumping the units, and sending them across. And if Mystery Meat doesn't have the right kind of firepower here, then he's going to be in a little bit of a dire situation. But again, the Hurricanes are here. Let's see how well he does. He needs to get those Mavericks on stim. The Hurricanes in a great position to try to burn down the armor of the Zealots, and you can see what a difference that made alone. Trading out 3 Zealots for 2 Hurricanes and being able to send the Protoss packing. Might be a nice opportunity for Mystery Meat to go in for an expansion. Without getting a star pad for drops, it feels like he's not really capable of moving across the map and doing some damage, or going for Eidolons, admittedly. Would be another option. But a Treasury is coming up for an expansion, and it looks like Mystery Meat will extend play. Dead Infested did say in his recent discussion in the match thread, he said, no matter what the outcome is, I've been looking forward to this. So he's been cooking. He's clearly taken some notes from Arbuz. Now going to go for a Warden, a little bit awkwardly placed to try to protect from Wraith harassment or something, but I'm not a fan of that placement exactly, but he's also going for the Lattice. So he's not going to expand his economy. He wants to continue building things, and now we've got Double Covenant coming out, a nod to the Eidolons, as, of course, this Lattice is now finished. Is it going to be for Golems? Is it going to be for maybe idols for splash damage? Golem's obviously a good frontline option. That Maverick going to go ahead and stim itself so that it can get to the other side a little bit faster. Mr. Meat wants to know how safe and how long he has before the army comes knocking so that he can get that expansion going. So pretty good stuff from him. Kind of heads up play here. Secondary pylon. I think that powers out almost everything here. Indeed. Looks like it does. So that's pretty good. Maybe that top left gateway is the only thing that it won't be powered by. And the army has been spotted out in full force in the natural, and that has allowed Mystery Meat to flex in. He's going for Savants instead of the Eidolons. So I thought it would be Eidolons, but Savants could make sense if you suspect your opponent is going to be going for singularly powerful units. We see Dead Infested going for a little bit of a bizarre composition, adding manifolds into the play. I'm not yet fully being able to piece together what the thought process is here. But no Nexus for him, nothing in sight, no embassy, just steady military production. I think Dead Infested is on a little bit of a timer. That being said, if he marches across the map, and there's only, say, 2 Savants finished, actually some Eidolons coming out right now, it does feel like his force can be able to charge in and execute this bio composition. So, you know, again, Mystery Meat back against the wall. He's thinking about moving out here, and I feel like this might be an anti-timing where he's offering up the opportunity for Dead Infested to slam the door on him. Because really, this is Dead Infested's only option. He is sending a scribe out for a natural, but he doesn't realize how far behind economically he is. And now you can see Mr. Meat falling back to the safety of his natural choke as that second, I guess the third scouting Maverick he sent out claims another life here. Dead Infested slapping down the gauntlet. But again, this is a treasury. It can be focused down. You can deny that economic supremacy that Mystery Meat has carved out, or you can just try to go for the jugular. But look at the Cyprians with the Hurricanes just absolutely shredding the Zealots down. And the Savants are on that crowd control mode. This has been a pretty significant victory in favor of Mystery Meat, militarily speaking. He didn't lose many of his backline options. More Zealots are going to come on in. And again, there's not really any Hurricanes left over, but look at the Clerics inadvertently tanking. This might have been a nice little re-engage as the Ecclesiast dies. That's going to give in options for the movement speed to speed things up. Vengeance procking for Dead Infested, but he is going to be thwarted by the Eidolons. He's actually sent his scribe up away from the natural as well, so no expansion is going to be allowed, as has kind of been kerfluffled there. He does need to commit to attacking the Eidolon stack, but there's already 6 of them, and that is going to completely and utterly devastate the Protoss ground army. Mason's going to have to call on back to the natural, but look at the worker count. 26 in favor of Mystery Meat. Embassy now coming online. No Nexus, because that scribe was left over there instead of left by the natural position. And yeah, I mean, what are you going to say? Another Covenant, many Eidolons switching in here. I guess the Savants at some point got picked, but pretty good stuff here in favor of Meat. I don't know, I wasn't keeping track of whether or not he lost his original Shaman, but he's going to start adding stockades, maybe sealing this wall a little bit here. The Scribe now moving up to the 12 o'clock position. Not going to take a base cheekily or anything, because that would be the obvious third base for Mystery Meat, I think. But yeah, interesting. Okay, Road Gallery, 4th Gateway, Lattice not really producing too much. Embassy nearly complete, still no Nexus. You think about the resources put into production at this point, Dead Infested is definitely behind the 8 ball when it comes to that. Now, what's he going to do with the Embassy? If it's for a witness and not for more workers, I think it's just more of the same. He's now dwarfed more than, double the worker count here for Mystery Meat. So he should be able to get up to a comfortable, very high Eidolon count. Sure, you're going to get your witness, but you're not going to have any detection or anything to use once you have that detection is what I'm fearing here, because the Eidolon count is so high. Eidolon Huracan, you get that nice setup there from just producing non-stop, frontline for the Eidolons. You do want some Mavericks, you do want some other units mixed in there, but that as your core is not a bad option at all, because you're going to keep the Protoss army away from being able to reveal the Eidolons through decloaking. And even if they have vision through Witness, which is coming, more than halfway done now, the other thing that I would factor in here is that you can't really snipe the individual Eidolons per se in this kind of position if there's so many Hurricans blocking your ground units from getting closer. And we have more and more stockades producing. This is a very healthy two-base economy here for Mystery Meat. And Dead Infested isn't even fully saturated on minerals in his main. He is going to get that aquifer up, so at least capping his gas. It needs every little bit that he can squeeze from this stone of a one-base eco. But as he starts to move out, I mean, his army is just dwarfed, both in number, but also in actual strength. You think about Protoss, normally they're like that. Now, here comes the Witness. I'm not sure that Mystery Meat saw that. He does have the Shaman. He can deploy at any time to give him detection. At that point, the Witness just getting sniped could be, just icing on the cake, where the Mystery Meat is massively favored. I really don't see how he could even lose this kind of fight. Sure, you're revealing them thanks to the Witness, but here comes the engagement. This might be the best kind of engagement Dead Infested could hope for. He's kind of trying to split those Drakidons backwards, but the Eidolon count is too damn high, and the Gateway units are evaporating. There's nothing that Dead Infested can do. He only has 2 Zealots back at home. Sure, he's got plenty of money in the bank, but you're not going to be able to turn that into anything. No GG is called, and we go to Genesis Y for our decider. Remember that Dead Infested, as the upper seed, was able to select between the 2 remaining maps at the end of the rotation. It was Maxium was one option, Genesis Y the other. So let's get into Genesis Y, which was indeed that decider. And you know what? That's kind of the way that I would have expected those games to go. I feel like maybe if Dead Infested had gone for a faster attack timing before the Hurricans could really get to a nice thing there. But also, the The other thing that I think was important to that whole engagement, in my opinion, was the fact that the Cyprians got included. The Cyprians were there, and yeah, it's just a surprising amount of power. Well, all right. Well, we'll just after the game is fine. All right, let's do it. Let's get into it. We are ready to go. Genesis Y, the decider. This is the first series we've had that's actually gone 1-1, where it's needed 3 games to decide. So I hope Dead Infested can give us a good showing in game number 2. If he faces Cyprians again, that could be a problem. If Mystery Meat tries to do something avant-garde, that could be a problem. Usually what you see in series like this, especially if you're talking about a best of 3, is you might try an out-there strategy in map 1. If it doesn't work, you just go back to what does work. The only problem is that you've lost all margin for error. I think maybe that what I'm just describing there is also sometimes happens in best of 5s. Map 1, very standard stuff. Map 2, if you're up 1-0, go ahead, try something wacky. And especially if you're up 2-0, try something wacky in game 3 if you haven't already. That's definitely something that can happen. All right, Stockade, pretty fast here for Mystery Meat, only getting the Vespine. This looks like a much better optimized timing here, actually, so interesting there for the timing of that. Sometimes, actually, different maps will have different harvest efficiencies for the resources, and I know Genesis Y did get updated for that purpose pretty recently, so it might even be something like that, like Mystery Meat just had a better split or did something like that and kind of boosted his Stockade timing a little bit there. Either way, the gateway's coming pretty fast here for Dead Infested as well. We'll be going into that second gate almost certainly once he has the resources to do so. Mr. Meat going for a fairly quick scout this time around. Usually Dead Infested was much quicker, like scout arrives in the base before Mystery Meat even leaves with his Mason. That's what it felt like in the last couple, so interesting that he's gone for a different approach now. And with the Stockades producing Mavericks, as per usual, we get this opportunity to say, shout out Biddy B for making this map. Beaver made Oblivion, the map that we just played before. And before that, I'm trying to remember, Cold Sweat, yeah, Veek, of course. And that map by Veek 7, classic move. So Corey gets scouted here. The Maverick is going to go ahead and pick off this Scribe. No worries there. And the Mason up here in the natural is going to go ahead and scout in. The gateway being idle here. Dead Infested trying to go for maybe a 3-gate timing without producing any units. It's a little puzzling, unless he wants to maybe do a lattice here. Yeah, it's going to be a 2-gate lattice with no military units. Now, normally I tell people to build units and make sure you're building workers in the early stages of the game as much as you can. The quarry just finished, so that's why Mystery Meat wasn't producing workers. Now you can see him jumping on that opportunity. Whereas Dead Infested, on the other hand, he still has not made any units. This map is rigged. Question mark? He'll type some more, I'm sure. Is he talking about the... Okay. I think he might have been talking about the gas pathing. You'd have to kind of correct the pathing there. That might have been what he was talking about. It's just dude, wait, Mystery Meat typing instead of Shambler? Question mark. How far have we fallen? Now this Mason, oh man, I was just telling Mesk about this pretty recently. It doesn't look like he's going to use it to build anchors or anything, but the Mason scout that stays alive and then goes back in for more, it can be pretty important. And when you don't hunt down the worker count or the scout worker because you were busy, building more production units instead of trying to make, units out of the production you already had, that can be a problem, right? That can be a bit of an issue. Now, it will be Cyprians again. Interestingly enough, Cyprians do struggle to poke comps if you are going to go for this Dracket and Hierophant option here with a couple of frontliners. And the Manifold is mostly there for the armor penetration. It is kind of consequential versus the Huracan, actually, so not a bad shout, per se. But one of the things I'm noticing so far is, this is actually an okay composition to be playing against what Mystery Meat is going to be fielding here. If you think he's going to go for the Cyprian style again, because that's what worked before, kind of matches what Dead Infested did. Dead Infested did the same comp, and now he's changing it up because it didn't work, right? So the comps for the Protoss were the same from maps 1 to 2, whereas the comps from 2 to 3 were the same for Terran. Kind of an interesting option there. A single Manifold will be popping out here on the other side, and that will catch a slight move out by this Maverick. I think the Maverick will have seen it. Yeah, he's going to see, okay, you got a Zealot coming out here. What's going on? But if that's all he thinks is coming, he's got another thing coming, in fact. Another 4 things coming, actually. But I still think that this number of Cyprians is too hard for this one Zealot to actually be able to go through. I think he's going to need a little bit more than that if he wants to try to breach the grounds, so to speak. The one Maverick is going to go ahead and... I mean, if you let it just run amok in your worker line, that can be a problem. But Dead Infested, I think he's just going to be able to use the Zealot that pops out. He's actually going to try to surround it with workers, which is a little silly. But he can send the one Zealot after it. No worries there. It's a little disconcerting, I suppose, but it's still kind of funny. Now, during all this time, sure, there's more Protoss units that have arrived, but look at the number of backline units here. Still, the 4 Cyprians, very scary. A Cleric now coming up here. Simulacrum is probably just going to get toasted immediately. Some of the Huracan's not in the fight here, but that's going to be more than enough just looking at the way that the Cyprians work. And I'm not liking this situation here. Mystery Meat has the 30 workers already. He's produced a safe composition. He still has this Maverick running around. It's 1 tick away from dying. The Ardent Authority now coming up, but scouted by Mystery Meat could mean that he goes for some kind of response to that. In my opinion, just drop at least 1 Covenant, get 2-3 Eidolons out, and you should be good and set for the Acantor, whether it gets dropped in your base or whether it is deployed with the rest of your army. Dead Infested, if he wants to come back from this deficit, probably needs to think about throwing down an embassy, definitely needs to think about throwing down an expansion, and Mystery Meat is going for double Covenant with the Treasury. I'm not even sure he's going to go for the Savant, because he's seen a very different composition out of Dead Infested this time that didn't end up... It wasn't what we wanted it to be, I guess is the best way to put it. So that's too bad. But 4th Stockade now coming. Vestry continuing to produce healers. Bio actually out on the map. When the Terran feels comfortable doing that, either the Terran is making a mistake or the Protoss has already made a mistake and allowed the pressure to sort of live off there. This isn't like Vultures in Cosmonarchy where they can, get map control and try to leverage that early mobility to maybe do some harassment, but really fail in the heads-up fight. They're mostly there about, like to their namesake, they're about like trying to make picks and defeat the enemy in that way. So maybe pick off isolated units or what have you. Big transfer here for Mystery Meat. He's leaving very few workers. This is a mistake. Leaving, he still could be close to saturation there, I feel like, and still do that transfer. But hey, better than, in some ways, it's better than not transferring at all. I definitely think that the over-transfer isn't as punished as people might suspect it is. This Watchdog positioning is garbage. Oh my god, look at the Mason path that has to be taken here. That Watchdog needs to be moved immediately. Just listen, dude, write the letter of resignation right now and endorse your vice president, because that is just terrible. Please get out of my town. Witness coming in here for Dead Infested. Pretty good sort of heads-up idea here to go for the Eidolons. We still see the early rotation of Savants, right? At least 1 Savant was made. So that's kind of interesting that Mystery Meat still wants at least 1 of those. I don't disagree that if you put it on the Power Siphon mode, you can actually use it to kind of debuff something like an Acantor, funnily enough, to reduce its attack speed. Certainly an option, right? And you can also use it to, if you can safely buffer it versus something like, static defense, like an engram, you can also use it to debuff that as well. People might not realize that it works on structures that attack. So any combatant, be it a building or a unit, all good. Envoy here for the drop. That's coming out of the embassy after this Witness. He made 2 of them, interestingly enough. First one's going to come in here and see the Stockades. Yes, this breaks Brood War players' brains, but Watchdogs do not detect. They only block your minerals. And so a pretty good scout here of not the army, but all of the eco here. So Dead Infested knows he's got to be behind in terms of efficacy of the workers. And I don't think he's actually going to catch the move out here with that first Witness. It'll have to be from the second one, which is just kind of hanging out by the base right now. So a little unfortunate for our Protoss player. Going to go ahead and drop a Warden defensively in his mineral line. That's not really where he needs to be worried about. I don't mind the Positrons. I would love to see more idols being made. It looks like one of them is on the way. One of them's already out. I really don't mind the Positrons, though. I think that's a really good option. The problem is I think he's going to need this Acantor. Look at this, a Stockade. I wonder what the Stockade is for. Is he using... Oh, he might be using it to try to block projectiles and just to float around. I did do that in front of... I don't know if Mist was in the game that I did that in, but that was kind of a funny move that I did at one point. So, you got to watch out. Loses a couple Zealots for the one Maverick. Doesn't even pick the Mason, making that little tanking structure there. And let's see. I mean, the Envoy does get bopped by the Maverick. I'm not sure that Mystery Meat caught that on the minimap, but he's already scrambling a response team, so he must have. And you know what? With 3 Eidolons, again, this is what I said. You get 2 to 3 Eidolons, that's all you really need. And now forcing the engagement before the Acantor even comes in. Dead Infested is standing to lose all of his military units before he can realistically even use the harassment option. And the Eidolon even gets sniped thanks to the detection from the Shaman. So now Dead Infested is going to move on in And this is when all the Hurricanes are already here. He needs to unload that Acantor. And look at that, a nice meaty shot to try and use the flash shielding from his envoy. Needs to make sure that he unloads it, and it will be the last she wrote. But look at the Hurricanes. They're trying to make sure that they block as much damage as possible. A couple of Mason kills, but look at the worker count difference. He's still up by 20. Mystery Meat is sitting just fine. I think, honestly, if the dodgeball had occurred there for the Eidolons, he would have been able to, or if, he had, like, positioned the Hurricanes a little bit better to just absorb it, he definitely would have been able to just snipe that Acantor with little fanfare. But I think this is about it. I think Mystery Meat is going to complete what is on paper in terms of seeding an upset, but I think what we all thought in our hearts was likely to happen. Dead Infested did a really nice job in game number 1, demonstrating why something that Mystery Meat might need to think about in the future, but I think he was able to figure things out, right? I think he was able to piece together that, hey, I saw this play happening against Protoss. I seem to understand the bio response to it. He didn't end up trying mech. He didn't try a Fulcrum option or anything. And yeah, another Witness goes down. The rest of the ground units are gone. Dead Infested is going to be knocked into the lower bracket as pretty much as soon as these mech units come on in. The Nexus isn't even going to get... Oh, it does get canceled at the last second. And the Wardens are picking the Stockade as the last of the Protoss survivors are going to be executed by none other than Ahmed. Clan Ahmed, represented only by Mystery Meat, probably accepting conclusions, I'm not 100% sure, has reigned supreme. And that concludes our match. So GG's to our players. Mystery Meat proceeds in the upper bracket. I wasn't sure that that's how that match was going to go. I thought it was a genuine, real option that it could have ended up happening. But it didn't end up happening. And as a result, Mystery Meat will be moving ahead in the upper gauntlet, upper qualifier. So if you think Mystery Meat is here to stay, if you think he's the kind of guy who can make things happen and go further in this event, well, you can come to your own conclusions, but Jack Yelansky will have to face off against Mystery Meat. And then there's a whole bunch of other matches that we need to be playing, but I feel like that alone is already a pretty mouth-watering option here in the left side of the bracket, if you will, the first side of the bracket of our tournament. So enjoy. More coming after this.